Welcome back, painting friends. Today we are going to paint a couple of poppies for spring. Colors you're going to need: blue, white, red, orange, green, yellow, and black. I always keep my favorite 4 brushes in the studio: my 1-inch flat brush, my 10, 6, and 1 round brush. And look, number 10 and 6, brand new today. Make sure that you guys have a cup of water and a rag for keeping those brushes clean. And if you like what you're seeing here today, make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, and check out our Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. So, 1-inch flat brush. I'm going to take that brush and I'm going to make some big white space right here in the middle. I want where my poppy flowers are going to be a lighter blue than the rest of my background. Then from there, I'm just going to take that light blue and I'm going to start working on the outside edges first, any place where I didn't really have a whole lot of white. But I'm just going to give it kind of a scruffy background. I don't need to make it a really nice, clean, smooth background. Once I have that done, I'm going to start going in. I'm not going to add any extra paint to my brush, but I'm just going to start going in and kind of bringing some of that white out to the blue, some of the blue into the white, trying to keep that center a little bit brighter, but also spreading it out enough so that the picture looks like it's put together. I think that's perfect. I'm going to let this dry. When we come back in, we're going to lay out where those poppies go. On to these poppies, I'm going to use my number 6 round brush, and I'm going to start off with some red paint mixed with some white paint. And the reason I'm doing that is it's probably going to take 2 coats of paint to cover this in. So I'm going to zoom in right here and show you how we're going to build a flower using red and white on my number 6 round brush. Okay, so to build these poppies, what we're going to do is we're going to think of this in like sets of 3. So I'm going to make a squiggly line that kind of comes down to a point. Okay, so that is going to be one of my petals. So squiggly line at the top, coming down to a little triangular point. We're going to do that 3 times. So squiggly line coming down to a point. And same thing over here, squiggly line coming down to a point. Okay, so that is essentially going to be the bottom 3 petals to my flower. Now I do want those to dry because I want those to be a different shade of red than the top one, so I'm going to leave it there. So you're going to go through and you're going to add as many of these as you want. Let me show you how to make one that's not quite opening yet so that you don't have to make them all the same. So same thing, a little bit of red, a little bit of white. So some of these you might just see that it is like a U shape. Okay, this is one that is almost opening. And then the top will have that squiggly line on it. There's 2 different ways to make these. And then let's see the third way. So the third way, same thing. A little bit of red, a little bit of white. And this is going to be like a bud coming out. So we're not adding the green yet. But if you just want to make a bud coming out, all you're going to do is you are just going to kind of paint like a top that kind of falls down to one side. It could be left or right. And then you're just going to add like a small little teardrop shape on the bottom of it. So just a little squiggle on the top and then like a little teardrop shape on the bottom. Okay, let's zoom out. You can add as many of these as you want, but remember, this is just the base layer of our flower. So I went ahead and put a second layer of red on my back petals, and those are done for now. Let's finish these guys up, and then we'll go and add to that. So for these right here, what we're going to do on these ones that are not quite open is we're going to add a dark red line on the back, and then we are going to bring some orange in at the front to kind of blend in a little bit. Poppies have this really pretty red-orange mix, and you can make some more red and some more orange, totally up to you. Then I'm going to end it off with just a small little white highlight squiggle on the tip. Okay, so all of these little ones are going to be the same way. Starting off with some dark red on one side. And again, some of them might have more red, some might have more orange, totally up to you. And then adding that little white squiggle right on that part that we made wavy. And then these right here, kind of similar. We're going to start with the dark red down at the bottom. And then as we pull that up, we're going to add a little bit of white to it because we want the top to be brighter. And then I'm going to take just a little bit of orange and add some orange to these outside edges. I'm going to brush that in. Okay, let's get all of those guys done. All right, time to finish out these guys and then of course add our greenery in. So just like we did with the background, we're going to start out with white and red on our brush, and we are going to make more little wavy tops that go over these first ones and meet back to the center. So these are the three on the top. And these are going to kind of go from red at the base to some orange at the top. I like to make this top line up here more lines going down instead of coloring in the entire triangle with the paint. I really want to make those lines because poppies have those really unique lines that follow those down. Now, after you get one finished, this is going to kind of stress some of you guys out. You're going to take the smallest amount of black paint and kind of push it out from that center. The center of poppies are really dark. That's why I like to use these small little brush strokes because it will really mix it nicely. But the center of poppies are dark. So every one of these top petals, you're going to do 3 on each, is going to start the same way. Let me show you one more time, then I'm going to speed it up and knock it out. I'm going to start with a mixture of white and red. I'm going to make a squiggly line at the top that kind of connects these two that were done before. Bring that down to the center. And give it a nice little base coat. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to start with a plain red at the bottom. I'm going to brush that up a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with an orange at the top. And these are all just little brushstroke lines that are coming into that center of the poppy. And then I'm going to take the smallest amount of black paint on the tip of my number 6 round brush. And I'm going to brush just some black in to darken up the center. So everything's going to kind of radiate out from that center point of the poppy. All right, let's get this done. All right, now it's time to kind of fill these spaces in a little bit. So what we're going to do is we are going to take that red and orange mix on our brush, and we are just going to kind of go along these edges and close them up just a little bit. So we don't need there to be a whole extra petal, but we just want it to look like these edges have some wave to them and they're kind of closing in on those bottom ones. So You're going to go right at that edge, and you're just going to kind of take some of that red and orange and just kind of squiggle it in. Now, while these petals dry a little bit, we're going to add in that greenery. So poppies have really skinny, long stems. So I'm going to take just some regular green paint on my brush, and every one of these, I'm going to bring a stem down. Okay, so any one of these little buds that are kind of popping up, I'm just going to bring a skinny, straight stem down. These guys right here that are not quite open, skinny, straight stem down. It's okay if they cross over each other. If you need to put one behind another one, just kind of jump over it. But all of these are going to have skinny stems. Now they also have maybe some that are kind of growing up, and we're going to put little leaves on some of these. So you can add a couple little spouts that just kind of stick up to fill in that base. And I'm going to zoom you in right here and show you how we're going to make our poppy leaves. So the poppy leaves, I'm going to take some green on one side of my brush and some yellow on the opposite side. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to set those bristles down and kind of pull them in and out as we go down. So poppy leaves have really spiky leaves, and they kind of form this area that's all together. So once that's done, I can kind of paint in the center of this, and that's all you're going to do. So a little bit of green, a little bit of yellow, make a pointed at the top, and then just take that number 6 round brush and kind of let those edges of it be the points to your leaf. And after you kind of go down that little stem, adding some points on there, you're just going to kind of fill in the center just by tapping little brush strokes. All right, let's make some more of those guys. Now, right up here at the bottom of these buds, we're going to take a little bit of green, and I'm okay if that red is still wet because it's going to darken it up, and that's what I want. I want it to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to cover just a small little section down here with a red and green mix, which is going to make it look like a very, very, very dark green. I'm just going to kind of blend that into that bottom area. I can wipe my brush off to get some of that red off, and I can kind of blend this in towards the green stalk. Let's add some of these final details to our flower. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, and on parts of the tips of these, I'm just going to add a small amount, like an extra yellow highlight. Again, kind of pulling it in like a small little line. So at the top of each of these little poppies, a little bit of a yellow highlight to make it pop. Then along with that, I'm going to take a small amount of black paint. And what I like to do when I'm trying to make a skinny line is I like to take my bristle and squeeze them together to make them really, really, really sharp. So it's just my number 6 round brush. Squeeze together to make those bristles sharp. And I'm just going to make some very skinny lines that kind of hug the edge of my flower. And just from the center to the edge, I don't want to go all the way around it. Just some very skinny little black lines that hug that center. And then I'm going to wash that brush off, and I'm going to get a little bit of yellow and green on my brush. I'm going to mix those together. I want a really, really, really light green color, but then I'm going to throw a pop of black in there to darken it because I don't want it to be neon, but I do want it to be a little bit light. And I've got like a really nice light green color. I am going to create a small little nub right here in the middle of the flower. And that little nub is going to go down into a really dark black area, and that is the center of that poppy. And then from there, I'm going to take some more little skinny black lines, and I'm going to make these guys a little more well known. Okay, so they're going to pop out from the base of that little light green space. Skinny little lines that kind of rotate around it. And I can even use the back of my brush at the tip of those lines to put small little black dots. All right, let's finish up those flower details on the other 3 flowers, or the other 2. We are just about finished with these beautiful poppies. So I always like to add some highlights to my art. So I'm going to go in now with some white paint, and I'm going to add some fun highlights. So these can really go anywhere you want. I'm going to put a small little highlight on the top of these green areas. I might add a little bit of a highlight along the edge of some of these poppies. Now these are highlights that I don't have to have a straight line on. I'm going to see a little bit of it, and some of it's going to kind of disappear. It's like a ghost line. So sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. These little ones that are starting to open up, I'm going to take a little bit of red and a little bit of black paint, smallest amount of black paint and red. I'm going to make some little lines that kind of shoot up from that stem to really darken that base up a little bit and pull those lines up. And then I'm going to take a small little line, and I'm just going to make a little black line right here showing kind of where a edge of a petal might be. A little bit of yellow right at the top of these opening ones. And that squiggly line does not have to stay right on the top. It can kind of even bump down a little bit so it looks as though there are multiple petals back there. Even a little yellow right at the top of these guys. And there, I think we have it. I think our poppies are finished. Make sure when you're finished, you sign it in a color that's going to show up well on your canvas. I always put my initials in the bottom right corner. Also, I never get to see what you're painting at home unless you take a picture of it and post it to my Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you're kept up to date on all of the tutorials. And remember, as always, stay kind, stay creative, and stay safe. Have a great day, friends. Bye now.